Hello everyone, it's me, Simon Dexter. And I eventually showed up this month, didn't I? Don't worry, we'll get to that in a bit. So, as some of you may have caught earlier in the month, we finally got Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared 5, and I'm finally ready to talk about it. Because it always takes me quite a bit to digest it and decode it and figure shit out. But I'm finally there. It took me a bit. I actually really wanted to post a reaction video when it first came out. But bad mistake by me, because I always forget that the Don't Hug Me I'm Scared videos are always kind of a slow burn, especially for me. It's kind of hit or miss if I'm going to immediately, like it on a shallow level. Like, I've first glance is like, oh, that was fun. Like with 3 and 4, I kind of had that, but with this one, I didn't. In fact, this is the first time since maybe 2, where my first reaction was, wow, I actually kind of didn't like that very much. But the thing is it's always a slow burn for me. I actually eventually got through it, and now it's still not my favorite one by far. I'll say that right out of the gate. It's still not my favorite one, but I do really appreciate and like it still. I still highly suggest it for you guys. I'm going to leave the link for it down in the description below in case you haven't seen it. But I doubt you need that, but I'm going to anyway, because it's been a few weeks. I'm sure if you've wanted to see it, you've seen it by now. But needless to say, this one has probably have been one of the more disturbing ones. It actually didn't faze me all that bad, but I'm used to it. But a lot of the general consensus online is that it's been one of the more disturbing ones they've done. It gets pretty graphic. I'd put a bunch of trigger warnings in this video if you're not comfortable with this or that. But my honest opinion about that is, if you have a bunch of triggers, you really shouldn't be watching a horror series. Maybe that's just me, maybe I'm insensitive, but just know, yeah, it's kind of messed up if you're not into gore, I guess. But otherwise, let's actually get into the nitty-gritty first. I finally got my fucking health episode! Yes! Admittedly, I was kind of disappointed at first, but after I got into it, well, I suppose if you were to ask me if it's everything I hoped it would be, the thing is, what I hoped it would be is something I didn't expect, and that's what I got. That's exactly what I got, and frankly, I knew they would do very interesting things with it, and I was not disappointed by that at all. So, first thing I'm going to get out of the way is, I was very wrong in my last review where I said, oh, the red guy's fine, he'll be back in the next episode, and I guess he was, but throughout the thing, most of it, he was actually gone. And I'll get into that one towards the end, because I have ideas of what that's about. But, yeah, the entire episode solely focused on the bird and the yellow guy, which is very weird, considering for four episodes, it was the 3, but now one of them is actually gone. So that was really interesting. It was very different. I actually kind of like it now. I kind of understand maybe what they're going for here. But yeah, our teachers this time are very interesting. We actually have 2, for a change. 2 that I would actually consider the actual teachers this time, where, like, in 3, people got confused because there were so many, but it was obviously Shrignold the butterfly. But in this, it's definitely the meat guy and the can of spinach. Although we do have a couple extra puppets in this one, like the fridge and the bread. The bread's adorable, by the way. I do really love the little bread boy. He's cute. But yeah, they're very interesting. But the one thing that turned me off most is when I first watch it is, oh my god, the spinach can could not sing. But here's the thing. The voice of the spinach can is Becky Sloan. If you look at the credits, she's the only female voice actress credited. And frankly, if you listen hard enough, it's the same voice she does for the rabbit in Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared 3. But she's doing kind of a more stupid dialect, I guess I'd call it. She's kind of trying to sound, I don't know, simple, I guess. Apologies. But yeah, but oh my god, that voice cannot sing, which really sucks, because Becky Sloan can sing. Because the rabbit in Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared 3 sounded okay, and the sketchbook in Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared 1 sounded great. So she was just doing a really, really stupid voice for whatever reason. And at first, that really turned me off. But song-wise, the song is actually really catchy. It took me a good 2 or 3 views to kind of actually get what the fuck the melody was, because the spinach can was ear-bleedingly awful. But the steak guy was okay. I call him a steak because he kind of looks like a steak. But I'm pretty sure he's also just the same voice actor they tend to use, like for the Tony the Talking Clock, and which is his canonical name, by the way. I'm pretty sure Becky's actually confirmed that. And the computer. But he was nice. And now, let's get into the nitty-gritty here. So, the lesson was health, obviously. It says it multiple times. It talks about being healthy, and gets into weird shit. But what's the real lesson? What are they actually talking about? And my theory, what I believe they're talking about, is they're kind of poking fun at dietary fads, which is what I'm getting from it personally. Now, a big reason I get this is, one of the big things in this is the steak and the spinach can are explaining what is healthy and what's not. Now, usually when you talk about that, it's usually, oh, you'll get fat, you'll get diabetes, you'll get sick, blah, 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 blah. You know, you've heard the spiel before 100 times. It's 2015. People can't shut up about it. So you know what I'm getting at here. But the big thing that these guys always cover are what's going to happen to them when they eat the wrong thing, which it's hilarious what the wrong thing is in this one, if you ask me. It cracks me up every time. But when you eat the wrong thing, it will turn your teeth gray. Eat all that and turn your teeth all gray. And it's kind of interesting just because it's a really stupid, silly thing. And I don't know. But yeah, you notice that just like anything that's a dietary fad, anytime you talk to someone who's like super, I don't know, vegan, and not like just the personal choice vegans, but the self-righteous, really obnoxious vegans that are like, oh, you're a monster for eating animals. It's like, well, animals taste good. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. Why is my camera lagging? I can see it. Don't fuck with me. I've had enough of my camera shit this month. Anyway, so, yeah. But you notice, like, with all the people who are really into the dietary fads talking about only the consequences of eating what you're eating. And that's one big thing that happens over and over again in this episode, is they keep telling you the consequences of what you're eating and what's kind of, I don't like to say the norm, because that just seems much, but what you'd expect people to choose. Like, I think at one point the yellow guy wants to eat like a pizza slice. Like, oh no, pizza slice, the pizza slice turns your teeth all gray. And, you know, it's just that, and they're like pointing out cake and stuff. And it kind of also really kind of pokes fun at that more by the whole only things that are healthy for you are like the most boring foods they could pick. Like, I think the list was bread, cream, white sauce, which I don't know, it's like Alfredo sauce, I guess? White sauce? I don't know. Maybe it's an English thing, I don't know. And aspic. Fucking aspic. You know what aspic is? That's like flavorless Jell-O. It's disgusting. But yeah, so it really pokes fun at that, because, you know, anyone who's on a dietary fad, they only eat like the most basic things, stuff that's perfectly fine to indulge on because it's boring. So it really pokes fun at that. That's why I feel that's what they're going for. And I think that's really what they're going for the simple reason that they're actually very hypocritical and keep changing their minds. Much like dietary fads, you know, like, you know how years ago people said eggs were bad for you, and now they're saying they're good for you? That whole cliche spiel. Well, it does that in this episode, too, where one of the list items that's okay to eat is plain white sauce. But later in the episode, the steak man says, oh, plain white sauce makes your teeth go gray. It's like, but you just said it was okay a second ago. And it even goes further into that later in the episode, where the fridge, when he comes in with like a cure for your teeth going gray. Like, you know how people will say, well, if you do, yeah, you could do this, but there's actually a way to fix that. If you just do this, you're fine. Or I think in this case, it's like, if you eat yeast, it'll make your teeth fine. But then the steak guy says, yes, but too much yeast to make your teeth turn gray. And it's like, there's a bunch of cures and things for, and they're all like really basic home remedies, like eating like onion paste and yeast. So yeah, I think what it was really going for was it was poking fun at, the diets and the fads and the scares and stuff like that. And it even gets so far in depth with it. At one point, it even goes into like pushing their own products, which is when it gets fucked up, because the product they're pushing on, like, think of like South Beach and all those diets. There's like, or I'll say Atkins. I'm probably wrong though. I've never been on a diet, mind you. I'm in my 20s. I don't give a shit. Some people do. Some people don't. I don't. I've never needed to, because I'm just so lean in physique. Anyway, yeah, so it even gets to the point where like pushing their own products, which is these cans of things which are just fine. But those cans of things are the bird guy. Because much like in the last episode where the red guy was actually kind of questioning the puppet really regularly, I guess. I don't know. Like, out of all of them, he was just the most not taking the computer shit in the last episode. The bird guy was actually kind of questioning the food in this episode. And because he did, he ends up dying. And when he dies, they sell him in cans and feed him to the yellow guy, which is really fucked up. And I almost forgot to put this in the initial cut. God damn it. Okay, so, the red guy. What happened to him? Well, throughout this episode, just everything will be interrupted for just a brief second. My head's on the shop. There we go. Everything will be interrupted for a brief second for the phone to ring, which is another thing that kind of turned me off at first, because I'm just like, I'm listening to a song. Why is there a phone ringing? I swear to God. But eventually you just sort of get over it and you realize it's part of the overarching plot, and it's fine. But yeah, the phone is ringing, and although the red guy isn't in the episode per se, like he's not singing along and he's not there to talk to them in between, you notice he crops up every now and again, and he's often depicted outside of the house. Like at the very beginning of the episode, there's like a little hand-drawn picture, and it kind of changes throughout frames. In the second change, he's outside of a window outside the house. And later on, in the one of the food guys' lectures, they're talking about the body as if it were a house, and so they actually have like a little house diagram with body parts in it, which is always lovely. And in one of the rooms, again, there's a window, and the red guy's outside it. And at the very end, during the credits, you see the red guy, and he's looking dapper as fuck. But he's walking away from a phone booth, and I believe that's meant to imply he was the one who's been calling the entire episode. And it looks like that's the first time in any of the episodes they've used sort of a actual setting. Usually it's like definitely in like a soundstage with built sets, but he's like outside, which sort of gives sort of the general feeling that he's maybe in the real world now. What I think basically happened is they're in some sort of suspended reality of sorts. I don't know the exact details. Maybe it's purgatory. Maybe it's... I don't know. I'm not saying anything until the 6th episode. But yeah, it seems this weird area where they keep getting taught by these various twisted teachers is just this own little world. And when the red guy died in the previous episode, when his head popped from leaving that reality, you notice he's in the real world now. And he's trying to sort of almost give a wake-up call to the bird guy and the yellow guy, which is why the phone keeps ringing, interrupting the song. Because you notice every time the song is interrupted, the steak guy starts frowning. Like he's like, that's not supposed to be happening. Because whatever's going on is the red guy's trying to kind of save them from it. And I guess it's supposed to be safe to say that maybe the green guy, the bird guy, is now escaped from this reality as well, and that he's most likely calling the yellow guy at the very end of the episode, especially seeing as the red guy is walking away from the phone booth in the credits. But that's all speculation. We cannot just say. That's just my personal thoughts on that matter. But yeah, so overall, I actually really like this episode. It's definitely not my favorite. like 4 has grown on me more than that. Like, but this one was probably take a little bit longer. Like when 6 comes out, I'll probably end up liking it quite a bit more. But it's still definitely a good episode. And Becky and Joe really they don't just arbitrarily do like disturbing and gross shit. If they do something, it's kind of with some thought in mind to it, with how awful that is in a broader sense than just, look, here's some guts, isn't that gross? But it's like, no, here's some guts, and they're feeding it to you, and it's kind of poking fun at the whole people trying to sell you their shit. I was going to say spiel again, but you get what I mean. But overall, just like any other Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, it took me a minute, and I don't know why that lesson took me as long as the computer one did. The computer one was a bit more vague and took some thinking. That one was actually quite in my face, but I guess it's just because it was so, again, different that it took me a minute. Because, like I said, every single episode is very different, and that's why I like this series. Well, we only got one more left, and that's kind of a bummer, because that means after this I can't talk about them anymore, and I can't think about them anymore, and I'll just have to watch them, sadly, on my phone. Okay, so I'll see you all next time on... I'm definitely posting something on Halloween. I'm doing something special. I was going to make a bigger deal out of it, but of course that didn't work out, because nothing I do ever does. I'll be doing something a little different. I'm going to be introducing something a little different. Come back on, computer. What the fuck you think you're doing? Make me look like an ass here. I'm introducing something a little different this Saturday. And then next week, I hope to get my schedule back on course with its regular creepypasta and resuming Celestial Heroes and all that jazz. But take that with a grain of salt, because you know how stupid my schedule is. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope to see, well, I will be seeing you Saturday no matter what. And I hope to be seeing you next week with a bunch of new fun stuff. Anyway, you all have a wonderful day. You all look gorgeous.